Hi everybody. I am here to do a little tutorial on how to make a coloring sheet. So this project is definitely a project from the heart and takes a lot of masking, but I'm going to show you how to make a little something like this. So I did start coloring this in so you can see what it's starting to look like. Pretty cool. So I'm excited to show you how to do this. So let's get started with the products that I'm using. First off, I'm using a 6x8 piece of mixed media cardstock. It's 300 GSM. It is from Strathmore, so it's just the kind that I got from a local craft shop. If you're going to want to watercolor your project, then I would suggest using a watercolor paper or something that takes water a little better than this. I am using a small-ish acrylic block and a longer one. I'm also using 4 shades of Vrsafine Clair. This is permanent when dry, so it's perfect for whatever medium you want to use to color in your project. I'm choosing Shady Lane, Morning Mist, I like Morning Mist a lot, Portobello, and Nocturne. So it is a coloring sheet. I chose to add some color just to assist in the coloring process for my friend who is getting this sheet. But you can just go with black, you can just go with brown, you can do whatever you have in stock. I'm also using masking fluid. When we get started, I'm going to talk about a different masking process that I tried to use that I just wasn't happy with. I love this masking fluid. It's just really important that you make sure your Vrsafine Clair or anything you're putting it on top of is completely dry before you put the mask on. Today we're going to be using Lavinia stamps, and these are from the newest release. This is Ashryn LAV 1038. You know what, I'm not going to give the LAV numbers. I'll put that in the description. So I've got Ashryn, I have Oscar the Turtle, I have got Ashfoot, bunny facing the right, and his friend Elderskip, bunny facing the left. I am going to use some Magpies. You can choose to use any birds that you'd like. I am using, these are old, you can tell how much I love these. They're very well used. This is a forest flower, and it's from the 800s, so you know this is like really old. Then I'm using Shadow Bloom, another one of my favorites. From the new collection, again, I'm back onto the Faelorn Rest. Sorry for the glare. And this fairy, I think, is from the previous release, but this is Eira. You can use the fairy that was included in this release. I just like that she's pointing, and as you can see in my design, I have her trying to get one of the magpies onto her finger. All right, so let's get started. So I do recommend, if you're gonna do something this complex, I did not do this at first and I made a couple of mistakes, but I would suggest stamping it out so you can see what you want in the foreground or what you want in the back to help your depth and your interest in the photo. I did not do that at first, so this is actually my second try. This is going to be my third try, and I'm gonna be looking at this as we go. So first off, we are going to use the top part of Faelorn Rest. Somebody had posted, it was actually pretty cool, that if you turn this over, it actually looks like grass. So we're going to do that here. I'm just gonna put this on my longer stamp just to give me some support. And for this one, I am using Shady Lane. That one's not Shady Lane. This one is Shady Lane. I'm gonna be careful to just ink up the grass. And if you get a little bit on your block, you can just wipe it off. And then just use a rag to wipe off any excess you got there just to make it nice and clean. So right about here is where my one rabbit is gonna go. You don't have anything on this page, so it should do pretty good without having to push real hard or leave it for very long. And don't worry about these little marks. Those are gonna clear up as we move along. And then of course, depending on what you color it with, like I'm using Prisma pencils to color mine, so Prisma pencils color pretty good. I'm gonna do one more right above it, and this is where my turtle is going to rest. I'm gonna wipe this off. Looks like I might have some old ink on there. And then ink this up again. Feel free to fast forward this part if you know how to ink and don't want to sit and watch it. I will not get my feelings hurt. Actually, this one is one I made a mistake on before. So I'm gonna do this one off to the right. And then after we stamp our right side, this bunny, see what I did here? So after we stamp this bunny and mask it, then I'll do that grass. We have a couple of other grass pieces down at the bottom. I liked this just to make it look a little bit more, you know, bringing your eye into the center. So I'm just gonna kind of come off the edge of the paper there, just like that. And we'll do just one more. So remember what I said about making sure that the Vrsafine Clair is nice and dry before you use your masking fluid. So first I'm going to blot this just to make sure. So what happens is when you remove your masking fluid, if the ink was wet, it will potentially take off some of your paper. So I'm just gonna do a quick little blast of the heat tool. Just a quick one, I'm not gonna be too precious about it. And we are going to get started with our first bit of masking. So I have this masking fluid, it's nice and shooken up, shooken. And I am using just this old junk brush. So I actually had to make a little washi tape thing that says mask here, and you can see it doesn't come off really good. I started using Vaseline. That helps. A friend of mine uses liquid hand soap. Also, I saw another person that uses like one of the nail tools that's like a silicone. I think I'm gonna get one of those. So I'm just gonna add my masking fluid, and I'm not gonna talk right now because I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me mask all of this, so you can fast forward, or my darling daughter of an editor may do a time lapse. It really doesn't take that long though. You'll see how quickly. You don't need a thick layer of this like I once thought. I was like, gosh, I need to be able to see it all blue, so I would pile on the masking. I don't need any masking down here. I will need this to be masked. So I guess it's not taking as long. While I'm finishing up, I'll let you guys know I'm really nervous. I don't know why, because I know you guys are my friends who's watching this, but this is my first time to do a video, a tutorial. So we'll see how this goes, if there's going to be a number 2. Doesn't take too long to dry, but we do need it to be dry before we start stamping on top of it. I'm just blowing on it, but let me just take the heat tool, help that out. It's going to be a little bit tacky. I'm not going to be too worried about it. You're of course going to want to take more time, maybe get up and walk away. All right, so next is going to be bunny that's facing the left. So I'll show you here my first attempt at the masks. Lavinia makes masking sheets, and all you have to do with these masking sheets is stamp your image and fussy cut it out. So you'll see I actually have, I don't know if you can see this or not actually, but you'll see I have the, what's this called? Acetate. So just in case I wanted to lay it down and use it as a mask like that. But this is the mask that comes off of those masking sheets. And I like them. However, doing so much, it was just a little easier for me to get this done using the masking fluid, so I stopped using that. I do just kind of tack this onto the acetate, so I have this handy for me. All right, so for this one, I'm using my small block, and I'm using Portobello. You can use, like I said, any color you want. This is your project. I'm gonna just ink the bunny up nice and good. This is a coloring sheet, so the inking doesn't have to be super perfect. But I'm gonna set bunny down right here in the grass. Voila. I personally, I like to kind of wipe my stamps down as I go. I really don't like getting ink all over my hands when I'm trying to take my stamp off the block. And I'm actually one that will, in fact, lose my stamps. So I put them back and away as I go. I'm gonna blot bunny off. Actually, I'll show you right here. See, if I wipe off the mask, you can see how my bunny's nice and behind the mask. Let me blot the bunny off here. Now, if I wasn't recording this, I would probably give it a little bit more time. Maybe stamp something else. Actually, that's what I'll do. I will stamp bunny facing to the right. And I'm gonna put this bunny right around here. And I did it again. I should have not put this grass down first, but such is life. I will just put little bunny a little bit further over, like so. So see, I've got a little grass here, but that's okay. I'm not upset about it. Let's put this, oh, and see on this bunny, I also have a cutout. I did a mask for every single one of these, which is good. If I'm just doing a little bit and I don't feel like taking out my masking fluid, that'll work really well. So I'm gonna come back in here and I'm gonna mask up this bunny. Now, it doesn't matter if I go over the masking on the grass. For me, it's just a little bit less to have to think about, so I'm just doing it. And since I am using black ink for the flowers, I do want to get that edging here so that the black doesn't come over the Portobello. I really like this Portobello color. I was so happy when I got it. I use it quite a bit, of course, for mushrooms, but I like to use it on the different trees and such. just something a little bit different than your standard fallen leaves. Okay, so we've got that one done. You know, this brush is wasted. I really can't wait to get that acrylic thing. I'm gonna blot this bunny over here. Looking good, looking good. Let's get this bunny. We have the bear behind this bunny. Now I'm not really afraid of a little bit of silence while I'm recording. I'm not really afraid, like, I don't mind it when other people who record, who do tutorials, stop talking for a minute. I know they're concentrating. But one of the things I like best about some tutorials is I love the tutorials where they're done in real time. And so you can see exactly how long it takes for that person to get it done. So if you're looking at doing a project, you know a little bit more about how much time to invest with it. I've learned a lot of techniques just sitting and watching. Even one person who does a lot of coloring, I learned a great deal on how to better use my Prisma pencils and even like watercoloring. So I personally enjoy that. All right, so have you guessed what's coming next? Oh, you probably can't see what's next, but next we are doing the turtle. And for the turtle, I am using my longer block. There we go. And I'm also doing the turtle in Portobello. I really like the way that Portobello mixes with certain grays and greens. It gives it a slight little army, chameleon looking, turtles are very earthy, so I just really love this earthy color. You could of course do this any color you want. That bunny's still a little bit too wet, and I'm not covering a lot, but I'm just gonna do a little bit of heat. So you see how the paper's kind of curling up? If you just get it from the back, it'll help settle that down. All right, here we go. And I am going to stamp this cute turtle, Oscar. And I want his feet in the grass. And I want his foot and tail to be a little bit behind the bunny. So say right about there. Oh, yay. Very happy with that. So happy. And you guessed it, we are going to mask the turtle because what's this thing? Faelorn. The tree stump is gonna go behind his little head. I'm also gonna mask up the top too because I am gonna put those flowers. So turtle's gonna get a good masking. And I'm going to do the entire body because I want to be able to not worry about where I'm stamping my flowers. Now, if you go a little bit outside of the line, you can just use a brown fine liner there on his tail. Like if I went a little bit over, I can just go back later and just use a fine liner if I need to. I may not actually need to, depending on wherever the flowers land. And again, depending on what you're coloring with, you don't have to be so precious. I'm coloring with Prismas. and they color very good. But with the shell, I noticed when I was coloring, I actually went very light because I didn't want to get rid of those details that are in the stamp, those little geometrical shapes in there. They're really fun. I do want to leave his underneath because I want to see the flowers. Just cute little face, his little dinosaur face. And get his little nails. And I think I missed a little bit in here, so I'm just gonna go over that. All right. I just have some copy paper down here just to help with my stamping. You know, if you're stamping on a softer surface, it just helps a little bit. I am gonna stamp the roost here, so I need that to be pretty dry. Ooh, look at that. Some of that's already dry and picking back up. Just add some back there. All right, and I can stamp the bear now. And again, I'm going to use my long stamp, my long acrylic block, and I am going to stamp it up again in Portobello. Just checking to make sure I get all the spots, and you can just kind of tilt it and you'll see the little shine coming in. You'll know that your stamp is nice and inked up. And I am going to put him behind the bunny quite a bit here and slightly higher. Now I know it looks like I crossed over that, but I did not because I masked it, so I'll just wipe that right off. And there we go. Let's mask him up. Him, her. Look at that little face, reminds me of my, I know I said to make sure you dry the ink really good, and I did not just now. I didn't even blot it, so hopefully it'll be good. I'm not super worried about his hair here. So I did actually use the masking sheets. When I did this the last time, I used the masking sheets for the turtle and the bear because they're just so big, but the paper on the masking sheet is still a little bit higher than when I used the masking fluid. So some of the flowers didn't come out as nice as I'd have liked them to. And so I decided to use the masking fluid instead. So if there's a little bit of a lip from your masking sheet, that can make it a little bit harder for the details to get in around the edges of that paper. So that's something to consider if you're going to choose a masking sheet or masking fluid. All right, so we are going to need to let this do a good dry. I've got the roost to do, and I also have the fairy. So let's get the fairy in here. Let's make sure I didn't just come out of view. Hopefully you can see all of this. Because like I said, this is my first time recording, so we still are on a timer. I don't know if I said it, but today is Monday, June 8th, 2026. That's another thing I like on the videos is when some people say what date it is. I think that's really cool because sometimes they will re-upload a video, or some people will re-upload a video on YouTube, but it's one I'd seen already, so it kind of confuses me. So the date helps me to know whether it's recent or not. Now on the fairy, I'm using Nocturne. I like Nocturne on the fairies a little bit better because the detail in the wings and in her hat will be a little bit nicer when you add your whatever color you're gonna do. So I'm gonna be very careful up here. I wanna try to get her feet planted in the turtle's shell. So she's kind of tiptoe on there. Ain't she dainty? Isn't dainty? The other fairy that doesn't point, she reminds me of my niece, Abby. I adore her. But this one I decided to use just because she's pointing. I want her to point at the birdie birds. So for her, I am not going to, oh, never mind, I am. We'll use the masking fluid. We'll just stay consistent. Let me blot her off. All right, so I do have to ask, if you're watching this video, I really want feedback. Just be gentle with me since it really is my first. I do kind of have a desire to continue doing videos, but not if they're not interesting or you're already seeing that same tutorial being done by somebody else. So yeah, I'm gonna get in the hair a little bit here. So you may have to touch up your flowers with some fine liner in there. But I wanted her hair, I'd rather have her hair and deal with flower fine lining than miss out on her hair. Anyway, I really do want honest feedback. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I have time on my hands and I love to craft, so why not record it? My daughter loves the idea and is completely willing to help me with any editing or whatever I need. Although I do like the ones where mistakes are made and you can see how they get fixed. So that's really, like, you can fast forward if you're getting bored, but you might miss something. Like, I'm no expert here. I'm not a pro. So I think it's good to see. Okay, so I'm gonna add the grass here while his face is still drying. So again, we're gonna go back to the roost. And I'm just gonna ink up the grass. There we go. And this grass is gonna go right under his little tushy. Hopefully you don't see my head. Let me stand up here. Just a little bit of grass under his butt. There we go. So before we take off the masking fluid, we'll actually wipe it down to make sure that none of that ink transfers. I am going to be able here to stamp the roost. because I'm not going to be stamping on his face. So let's do this, and I'm going to use this ink pad. Now, this is two-tone inking. I'm just going to ink the grassy part up on the top like that with still my Shady Lane. And I'm going back to the Portobello for the wood, for the trunk. Ink it up nice and good. There's a lot of details in here, and these details, they're built in there to help you shade and help your coloring just be a little bit more, I don't want to say three-dimensional, but have a little bit more depth and interest in it. So I am going to come right about here. Watch out for her hand, right? Hope the bear's face is nice and, oh, this is scary. I think I may have gone over the the bear's little nose. I had a little bit more space in the other one. So see how I had some more space going on in here. I didn't do so hot on the distance there, but I'm happy with that. Now for these steps, what I did is I just used the bottom right here only, so I just inked that up. And again, still using Portobello. I'm just going to be careful to, actually let me wipe this off really good. I'm just using a dry cloth. I have a chamois that I use also that a dear friend gave to me, but I use that more for my water-based inks. Since this is oil-based, it just reacts a little bit different. Now you'll see I caught some of the trunk there, and I don't want that to stamp, so I'm just going to come in here with the corner of my wash towel and just wipe it right off. And then I'm going to come in here and add some more steps. We're going to just add some, add them over here. Let's do this different. I'm going to take off these top ones here. I'm going to go wide right under there. And I'm just going to touch down here where my acrylic block isn't. There we go. I like that. And then I'll do this again. And I'm gonna leave those two top rungs off and just get these third and fourth layers. It's fun. And I do have a little bit that I didn't mask on this grass, so I'm just gonna use the corner of this paper and let me just stand up here. Ooh, I'm so short, it's hard to see. All right, do that. Perfect. And I'll do just a little bit more coming down. So I want it to go all the way to the end there. And there we go. Oh, see what I did there? That's all right. I won't see that very good, but see how I left that piece of wood there. I forgot to wipe it off. And I think I'm going to do one more of this bottom layer here, just for this space. Wipe this off a little bit. And in we go. There we go. So you'll see in my original just came out a little bit different. I think every time you're gonna do something that you're making by hand, it's going to come out different. Plus, like I said, I'm just a little bit nervous that I'm recording myself. Alrighty, so let me ink this up, or not ink it up, but mask it up. I'm not gonna do masks through all of that. It's not how I didn't do the flowers like that, but I'm definitely gonna get this top part done. I had a lot of flowers coming in. So on that original, my sample piece, I actually used a little bit of white out in some spots. You could use some white acrylic paint or Posca or some bleed proof to cover up mistakes like this right here if you really want to. Again, this is just a coloring sheet. I'm not, well, I am giving it away, but it's not like a greeting card, just a little bit different for me. So kind of okay with it like that. So I am gonna just do some of these, because maybe what I'll do there is put some flowers over it just to kind of help hide it a little bit. And I'll put some flowers down here in the bottom as well. I did do that on the original. I'll just get that little bit of grass as well. And all right. Masking is quite a bit, isn't it? But the coloring is so much fun. I was really enjoying coloring that sheet. I'm looking forward to giving that to my friend. While this is drying, I'm gonna start doing some of my flowers in and around here. Just trying to utilize my time wisely. And for this, I'm using the Shadow Bloom. This really is such a fun stamp. And I'm using this on my long acrylic block, and I'm using Nocturne. I'm using Nocturne because I did go behind with those forest flowers. Those are those like seed pod looking flowers, and I did those in gray. So depending on how much of a stem you want, you don't have to go all the way down. For this first stamp, I don't want a whole lot of stem, so I wiped some of that off, and I'm gonna stamp it right here. I'm not doing second and third generations or anything like that. If I was making a card, I probably would, but since this is a coloring sheet, I'm not going to do that. This time I'm not going to ink up the stem at all. In fact, I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And I'm going to just come all the way down here. I love this stamp. It just kind of fits into itself in certain places. If you look carefully in there, works really nice. There's not a whole lot of draw over. And for this part here, I'm just going to ink up the top. And I'm just going to fill in that space a little bit. This coloring sheet was intended to really occupy a friend of mine, and so I did a lot of flowers. For this one, I don't want to come all the way down, so I am just going to use this piece of paper. I kind of want it to come in right about there, be a little bit shorter, just for some interest. You don't want everything to be the same height, the same direction. So right here where that didn't fill in, just do some fine liner, or I can actually just do this. And just ink up some of these top flowers and just kind of go right in there. Push a little bit harder this time since it's going over paper and masking fluid. Make sure it gets in there. There we go. That's good. Still pretty wet over here, so I'm going to move on over to the right side. I don't want this whole flower over here, so I'm just inking up about half of it. Notice I made a mess out of my block. Whew, throwing things now. I'm gonna just do this here. Did it again. Just fix that in there. So this is what I mean by being able to see what to do if you make a mistake, how to fix it. I'm going to do another one up in here. I think I've been standing up this whole time. Just trying to make sure the video's still going, make sure you can see. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. So that's kind of cool. Let's get this one right in here. All right, and do one about there. Now, if you're not sure, you can always take your acetate and place it and see how you feel about it. I do that all of the time. Oh my gosh, look what I keep doing. All right, that's a big old mess. And on this one, I'm just gonna put in, now I have all that masked, so I'm not worrying about a piece of paper there. Just push that down. We've got that masking fluid. All right. Just add a little bit there. Okay, so now I'm gonna stamp the magpies. So I didn't know there was a story about magpies. I guess there's a poem, I didn't know about it, but apparently 2 magpies are for joy. So I am going to use 2. There's something about only having 1. So I don't know how true that is. You know, it's superstition or whatnot, but I'm gonna just make sure we have 2. So there's number 1. Pretty birdie. Keep dropping my rag. And for the second one, we're gonna have him or her flying. This is a pretty new Nocturne, so it's very juicy. That's why I keep getting it everywhere. And this one we're just gonna have flying overhead, like he's gonna come and perch about there. All right. Put these little guys away. I won't be using them again. All right, so I'm gonna use, coming back to the shadow flower, shadow bloom, I'm just gonna add a couple of blooms down here. You can use different flowers if you want to down here. I just want to use these. I think for this side I might use, let me wipe that off. I think I decided here I want to use just the bottom part, a little bit bigger flower. And you can see where they overlap or they don't overlap, so you can choose to ink exactly what you want, but this will make it look a little bit more shrub-like than flowers, than, you know, like a stalk. Just clean that up a little bit. And I'm going to put that right there. And there we go. I'm gonna do another set of these right back here. I'm not gonna bother to mask this magpie. Perfect. And we can get a little bit over the bear's head. Do I want to do that? Sure. I'll just add a little bit right there. Okay, this, I did quite the job over here, didn't I? I'm gonna just add a little bit here. It's gonna come like it's behind that piece of step. And I'm gonna do a little bit here to mask the mistake I made there. Just taking a look here. Not worried about this. It's so light that when you color your background, you'll be all right there. I think I'm all done with this flower. So now I'm gonna take some time to mask all of this up. Put this away. I'm probably not going to use that stamp for a while. Just actually, you know what? I'm going to add one more. I'm sitting here looking and I see a spot right there that I just want to fill in. I just inked the very top of that. I didn't even take it off the acetate. All right, let's give this a good blot. And look at all that. So a lot of that's coming off of here. I'll just wipe that off a little bit. Don't wipe too hard, you'll wipe your masking fluid off. Excuse me. Just a little cleanup there. And since it was so wet, let's just give it a little blast here. So I may need to do some fine liner right there on the bird's tail that went over the top of the roost. That's easy to do. Hopefully I'll remember and I'll show you. All right, let's get this masking fluid back on. This should be the last time I'm using the masking fluid. Just make sure we're still recording. All right, just give it a little shake again. All right, and we are going to, I'm gonna mask up most of the flowers because those rascally stems from the other flowers kind of snuck up on me. I wasn't expecting that to happen, and this is a little bit easier than, you know, I don't have to think about it. If the masking fluid is done nice, then I don't have to think about making the mistakes. And truly, it's probably taking me a little bit longer on this video to do it than it was on my own, just because I am a little nervous. There we go. I'm not going to really say anything important here, just in case you want to fast forward, feel free. Feel free to do that. Some of these, I don't think that the other flowers I did, they didn't really go up this high, but like I said, there's so much involved in this. I'd rather just be safe than sorry. I don't want to spend all of this time and like make an error like I did on my first sheet where I put the stem for this flower straight across the fairy. That was pretty funny. So I want all of these to be in the foreground, and the other flowers I want to be in the back. That's actually why I'm going to use Morning Mist instead of Nocturne on those flowers. I'm not going to worry about these ones that are so far off to the side. There's some other little individual flowers that came out right at about the same time. I didn't bring them out, and I actually left them downstairs, but those individual flowers are really good for filler spaces. You can also cut them out and glue them, but again, this is a coloring sheet, so you could have, you know, used those or any single flowers to fill in any spaces that you wanted to do. I've been using this flower so much that I'm kind of used to using different parts of the stamp. It was actually fun sitting down and coloring, or at least starting to color. It's a lot, and I don't really like to sit and color for too long, so I have to wear my reading glasses when I color. Funny, I don't have to wear them doing this, but I do when I color. And I don't like wearing them too long. So I can only color for a good amount of time, but it's a nice detailed sheet. You can color it as basic as you want, as detailed as you want, shadow, depth. I'm gonna get the bird here because I don't want the flower to do anything weird to the little magpie. So if anybody's watching that doesn't know me very well, I'm out here in the Dallas, Texas area from Los Angeles. Moved out here 20 years ago. And I do work full time. I've got my 2 daughters, great boyfriend, puppy Arthur, he's a husky. And like I said, I work full time. It's a very stressful customer facing job, so getting off of work and decompressing with some coloring or creating some greeting cards. Oh, there's nothing that I love. I just love opening the mail and getting letters or cards from people. And I used to do a lot of scrapbooking, and I started doing digital scrapbooking, but I really missed the paper in my hand. And I don't know if you can still see that. I started doing making greeting cards with just some of my scrapbook supplies. My boyfriend got me a glimmer hot foil machine one year, and I had I don't remember, my Christmas or my birthday, and I ended up having to get a die cut machine to be able to use it, and it just opened up my world. I just fell in love with making greeting cards again, and I found Lavinia stamps, and the fairies are, the fairies and the flowers and mushrooms and such. They're so whimsical, right up my alley. And got involved with some crafting groups online who I've made some great friends, one of which I went and visited over the winter break, and some that really came alongside of me during some recent loss, and it just really filled a spot in my heart that I guess I didn't really know needed filling. And so I'm hoping that by maybe doing some of these tutorials, maybe I can give back a little bit to that community. I just got masking fluid all over my hand. All right, so this side's pretty good over here, so I'm gonna get started with these flowers, the forest flower, while these other ones are drying. I'm going to start with a large one. These do come in 2. I am using the morning mist for these. You don't have to. I just like it to fall a little bit further in the back. So this first one is going to come right here into this glorious spot. Make sure you push it down just a little bit, like where you have masking fluid. It's a little easier, like I said, than if it was those masking sheets, but still, it's nice. I'm gonna do another big one over here. Just inking it up. This side here, I'm gonna do more of a stem because it's gonna come all the way down. Let me use that just in case. And we'll put that right about there. Not gonna sit and fuss too much about where it goes at the end of the day. It's not gonna make a huge difference. Woohoo! I think I'm just gonna put one of the smaller ones. I don't think I'm gonna do, let's see. I'm gonna put this one in and see how it goes. Just see if I wanna add more than one. This one also I'm doing in Morning Mist. Now, if you wanted to do wild colors, you could do all of this in hot pink or whatever colors you want. Just have fun. See, so if I put that down right there, I don't have this mask, and that stem would have gone right under Oscar's tummy. So let's put this paper down. I'm okay if the stem comes down there, but I don't want it to come down past the let's put this right up. We'll put it right about here. And I guess I'll put one more down here, just one more. Usually I like to put flowers in odd numbers. Just a little better, but I think I'm gonna turn the stem on this one just a little bit. Ink that back up. Put it right there. But that stem will look like it's gonna fall behind these other flowers. All right. I'll look at this in my camera, see how I feel. Ooh, look at all that masking fluid. Okay, looks good. I'm happy. I don't think I want to add anything else. So, first thing I'm gonna do, because this ink is sitting right on top of this masking fluid, so before I start wiping it all off, I just kind of want to gently take some of that off. Oh, that came out in the perfect spot there. Just gently, don't rub hard. I'm gonna get that all over. All right. So I used to start rubbing this off with my finger, and I felt like I was going to take my fingerprints off doing this. Now, a friend of mine, she uses one of those gummy erasers. They're kind of square, yellow, look a little bit like honeycomb. I have one of those and I can't find it. So I am going to use my fingers, but then I started to try doing it with a paper towel and it worked like a champ. So I'm going to use the paper towel and we are going to reveal our image. At least this, I don't feel like I'm going to lose my fingerprints. It goes a little faster too because fingers start getting achy bakey. Now you'll make sure that your ink is a little bit drier than I did. Just for sake of time and boring you to tears, I did not let some of this dry as good as I should have. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that your Vrsafine Clair is very dry. Oh, I messed up this turtle really good here, didn't I? Sometimes they'll roll off in nice, good sheets, and it's so much fun. I like to peel them like that, but I'm so nervous that it's gonna take my ink or take my paper. Not so concerned about the ink because I can always fine line that, but when I first started using masking fluid and I didn't let the ink dry well enough, it actually took my paper off. So I stopped using it for a bit. And then I bought this brand and learned to let it dry, be a little bit more patient. And now I don't mind it at all. Now I actually have fun with it. Now some of these spots right here that are a little lighter, when you go to color your project, you can fix that. So I'm not concerned about that. Again, it's not a card, it's a coloring sheet. Even if it was a card, I don't think I'd have been concerned about that because I'd still color it. Something's shaking over there. Almost done. Almost done. Oop, forgot that magpie. All right. get rid of some of that debris. So much of this ends up on my floor. So I do want to fix the tail, so I am going to use, I just have a black micron fine liner. This is a number 03, and I am just going to draw in my bird's wing. Color is not quite the same, so I'm just gonna dot it. When I color this with my Prismas, I'll just go over it with my black Prisma so it looks a little bit more in line, and then I'll end up doing some highlighting in there. There we have it. So slightly different from this first one that I made. Very similar. Not each one's not going to be the same. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know, please, because do I do another or do I not do another? I do not know. Have a great day, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this, and peace.